Welcome to the LU Moment, where we showcase all of the great things happening with Lamar University faculty, staff, students, and alumni. I'm John Rollins, Associate Director of Community Relations and Public Affairs here at LU, and I want to welcome you all to this week's show. My guest today is Ryan Cervantes, one of our fantastic students who was recruited to run track and field here at Lamar University. Welcome to the show, Ryan, and thank you for joining me today on the LU Moment.
No problem, John. It's an honor to be here.
Very glad to have you. Love bringing in our students and chatting with y'all, seeing what you're up to. We were at a Lamar Alumni Advisory Board meeting recently up in the President's Suite above the football field, and Ryan kind of walked up and just introduced himself and inserted into several conversations, and I was like, who is this guy? So I found out you're one of the LU ambassadors and came here, like we said, for track and field, and just a really neat story. So I thought, why not come on the podcast? So glad to have you. So you're a sophomore here at Lamar, majoring in biology with a pre-vet concentration, and you're minoring in honors studies. So before we get into our chat, let's hear a little bit more about you.
Well, I don't think you can really know a person without knowing where they come from. And Me personally, I'm from the Rio Grande Valley, Mission, Texas, born and raised. And it's about 6 hours away from here, down south, close to the U.S.-Mexico border. And it's just an amazing place full of community and just people that really celebrate you and your victories, a small-knit town that people will build you up no matter how small or how big your victories are. And I think I can find similarities between there and here in Beaumont, Texas.
I love that. Well, I mean, explain a little bit more what you mean by that, because I remember we chatted about this in the President's Suite, just how welcomed you felt when you got to Lamar.
Well, it also helps that there's a large Hispanic community here in Beaumont.
Yes.
Especially on the campus. And I think Hispanics are very open people, and we just love giving out an open hand to anyone who needs it. We're real accepting of all cultures, and we're just real open people. We're all about love in the Hispanic culture. And no matter where you come from or your background, if you're good to one of us, you're good to all of us, and we're real accepting. And I felt that here at Lamar University. I've had some teammates here that also came where I come from in the Rio Grande Valley. And even though I've only raced with them and not even spoken to them, as soon as I stepped on campus, they made me feel right at home and felt the transition a lot easier on myself. And it's been real great this past 2 years. And we've just knitted so well, and we have built a new system and community inside our own track and cross country team that we hope that this momentum will lead us to a conference, a podium finish, win, or even farther than that, what we're doing with this new thing.
Yeah. So let's talk about the process you kind of went through to become a Lamar University Cardinal, because I know you also received the Presidential Scholarship. So do you want to explain to our listeners what exactly that means?
So the Presidential Scholarship is a completely full ride to Lamar University. And a funny story is that it was actually at a track meet where I had just finished racing one of my events, and I just got a phone call from a 409 number. I was like, oh, that's kind of sounds important. So I pick it up, and this is past all the application processes and an interview I had to do, but I was still in limbo trying to figure out if I got it or not. And throughout this entire process, I was being recruited by Lamar University to run for the track and cross country team, but I really wasn't really sure if that was the right spot for me, or if all the things would plan out. But as soon as I answered that phone call, they just broke the news that oh, you received the scholarship. You have time to decide. Don't worry about it. But congratulations. Have a good day. And I was just shocked. I was like, oh, I got to go run the mile after this,
Pick your jaw up off the floor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my parents were super excited. Coaches were excited. And it was just, I think it was the deciding factor that I was able to go to school here with no cost and be able to run with a great team and have a great community and just be myself.
Yeah.
And I think it was just a best of both worlds for me, and it really just sealed the deal.
Fantastic. What a great story, too, you know. So your campus involvement doesn't just start and end with track and cross country. You're also involved with the Reaud Leadership Institute, the Ambassadors, which we mentioned earlier, Hispanic Society, and Stepping Up Civic Leadership Group. Would you like to share a little bit more about some of these things that you're involved with here on our campus?
Of course. The Reaud Leadership Institute is a select group of presidential scholars that just started last year, my first year, and we're just here to promote leadership and build a strong community within the honors group as a whole. And we went through a very exclusive class where we learned to develop our leadership skills. Yeah, awesome. We were able to find our own leadership qualities and which aspects that we maybe lack in, and how to develop our abilities and how to just round out ourselves and become the best leader we can be. And that's really what this Leadership Institute is all about. And that's what gives us our minor in honor studies to spread our horizons and become ambassadors for the honors group.
Nice little tie-in, almost like a segue or a back and forth between the two groups.
Yes, and the ambassadors, of course, is the face of here at Lamar University, just showing just the campus what people we have here, not just students or athletes, but people that can do both, people that can excel in all aspects, whether they're STEM majors or business majors. They're just some of the brightest, some of the most excellent people we have here just to represent around campus and community. Speaking of community, the Stepping Up Leadership Program is all about pairing up with a nonprofit here in our local communities and being a part of their board and really understand what being part of a board member is and what it requires. And I had the opportunity to join Stable Spirit, a local nonprofit organization all about just providing therapy with horses to people and children with disabilities. And it's just been a great experience over there. They've given me a lot of connections and helped me learn more about horses, their temperament, and just seeing these people and children with disabilities just light up when they're around these horses and when they're riding, petting them. It's just such an awesome experience, and I'm so glad that I'm a part of it. And I would highly recommend any honor student that really wants to do this just to go for it, and you'll get paired up with a nonprofit that fits you and they fit you.
Yeah, what fantastic experience. You know, I know that nonprofit, they do great work. So I'm glad you're getting the opportunity to go and volunteer with such a great local organization, for sure. So you tell me you are a music lover and you can talk about music all day long. I love that. I'm kind of the same way. So here's a quote that you sent me over. I think it's one of the most important types of art that humans have. Tell me what you mean by that.
I think that in this day and age, people tend to just define art as something that can be seen or just experienced. And I think music checks off all the boxes that you get from painting, watching a film, and just music is a full body experience that people a lot take for granted. And it's just, there's so much power in music that people are not really aware of these days, and it's just so beautiful what people can piece together and make, and just from their own experience, their own heart, their own mind, and they put together a piece of music that tells their story.
And you can connect to it, you know, depending on what type of day you're having, what kind of mood you're in.
Yep.
If your mood is high or low or whatever, there's always a certain song or something out there that's gonna fit whatever mood you're in. So I absolutely agree. So tell me, on that same note, who are a few of your favorite bands, or maybe a few favorite songs?
Well, if we're just speaking of bands, I would have to say...
Or musicians, let's say that. I guess bands is very specific. Any favorite musicians?
I'll stick to bands because a lot of bands are just a collective that they all agree on one thing and they create music that they all want to.
Right.
And so I would say America would have to be one of my favorite bands. as well as, the Beatles is a classic.
Yes.
You have to include them. And just to steer away from bands, I would say groups of people, of musicians. I would say the Eagles. The Eagles is such a classic.
Yeah,
they have
classic group.
Instruments are just so powerful, and the way they use them is just incredible. But I would say my favorite musician would probably have to be
It's tough, right?
Yeah,
There's a lot of good ones out there.
It's really tough, but I would say the one I'm listening to the most right now is Donny Hathaway, a 70s soul artist, and he's got an amazing voice, amazing talent.
Okay, so Ryan, how old are you?
I'm 19.
19, and you are mentioning some way older bands here, or way older musicians here. That's pretty interesting. Is that, like you said, you have a very eclectic taste, but is that typically what you lean towards, a little bit older of the kind of music that used to be out there?
Yeah, I would say so. My parents were real music fans as well, and the way they've raised me is to appreciate everything that came before now. And I remember so little, I would just be listening to whatever my dad would put in the CD player, and it would mostly be either like Journey or Metallica, or just things like that. And it would just made me realize, like, there's so much stuff that people tend to forget about, or just cast aside to see what's new, what's next, what's hot right now.
Don't forget about what built you up to this point, and even CD player, that's a throwback. But I'm glad you brought that up. Being 19, that's pretty awesome. I still have CDs at home. I don't necessarily listen to them, but I still own them.
Yeah.
But it sounds like your parents raised you on some good music.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic. So before we wrap up today, I wanted to ask you, anytime I have a student on, I like to ask them, are there any words of wisdom that you would maybe share with either current students at Lamar or future potential students about how they can make their experience here at LU the best it can be?
Well, to current students, I would have to say, just learn to relax. I know there's a pressure of college that brings a lot of stress and anxiety when tests come up, or teachers, or you only have 4 grades this whole semester, and if you mess up one, you're done. But I also know a lot of people that study for hours and hours on end that they end up getting a result they shouldn't have, just because how much effort they put in. I think you need to find a right balance between stressing and studying and preparing, and there just has to be a certain peace you have to have and a certain confidence. And I think if you overstudy or if you don't study at all, those are both horrible options.
Right.
You just need to find the right time management, and it will get you where exactly you need to be.
Yeah.
And to future students that hope to step foot on this campus one day, I would just say that there's a lot of opportunity here, not just at the school, but in Beaumont and all majors. And it's just a great place. It's a tighter community than other public schools. And it's a great spot to absolutely be, to just excel and step in excellence, and you can definitely become what you want to become if you come here.
Fantastic advice, and I love what you said earlier about the way I kind of interpreted what you said is to find that middle ground. And I think that is something that stays with you throughout your life. Find that middle ground between peace and not stressing too much, and just everything. The pieces will come together, as they say. So great advice for future and current students, both. So Ryan, thanks again for joining me today on the LU Moment, sharing your story with our listeners. We always love, it's a pleasure anytime we can have our students here in the studio to share their stories. So thanks for sharing your journey here on the LU Moment.
No problem. It was an honor to be here, and go Cards.
Go Cards. There you go. All right, folks, don't forget to save the date for LU Homecoming, taking place on Saturday, October 12th at 3 o'clock in the Provost Umphreys Stadium. Visit lamar.edu/homecoming for all the details. As we wrap up another episode, please make sure to search LU Moment wherever you get your podcast to keep up with the people, places, programs, and events right here at Lamar University. Don't forget to follow us on our socials. That username is Lamar University. And when you follow us on socials, you can see everything for yourself. All of the great things happening right here at Lamar. This is John Rollins, your host. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.